Obviously, you guys are going to ask, so I'll just start with the quarterback situation. So Derek did not practice today. You guys were out of practice, probably saw that. So he's still obviously dealing with his concussion protocol and the left hand injury. So as I stated on Monday, we're just going to take that situation literally day to day, week to week, as I mentioned. He will not be going on the IR, just to confirm that. And that's going to be, like I said, a game by game and really day by day. He's still dealing with some swelling, so we'll see if that goes down and see if he clears a concussion protocol and he's able to do anything at the end of the week. And so both Spencer and Jake both took reps today. Obviously with Derek not being out there, both those guys, took reps in the team periods. That'll probably be the same case tomorrow. And we're just going to evaluate that situation, and we're going to name a starter later in the week. We're not going to name a starter right now. We're going to kind of see how that kind of progression plays out. First with Derek, and then obviously with Jake and Spencer. So that's where we're at with the quarterback situation.
Did you not say the other day that you would want to pick one and give them the majority?
Yeah, I said the other day I was going to meet with the offensive staff. At that point, I hadn't done that yet. We all met, obviously, staff-wise. Listen, as I mentioned, both Jake and Spencer bring certain attributes to the table. They're very similar in a lot of ways, so game plan-wise, it doesn't change a whole bunch. And so in fairness to the process, like I said, we'll get another work day in tomorrow, maybe make this decision by Friday. We'll see where Derek's at, like I said. But right now, all options are still on the table.
Those were first team reps that they split?
They both took reps and all the way through. The way we do it, we just kind of roll through our team, our team periods. So
would you describe it as a competition at this point in terms of?
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's what they've been doing since the day that Spencer got here. I think him and Jake have been in a competition, and for the 2 and 3 spots. And every week we spend a little bit different in terms of the rep counts and all that. As I mentioned the other day, we have gone into every game with Jake being the backup and Spencer being the emergency third. And so, obviously we signed Ben DiNucci to the practice squad. Just, again, take some of those practice squad reps, those scout team reps, have another body, because obviously Derek's not practicing here for a few days. And so just to take some load off those guys, and so they're not taking everything. So that's where we're at. I know you guys want me to give you more, but that's really where we're at. So.
You say they're similar in a lot of ways, Jake and Spencer.
Yeah.
Just not wanting to put words in your mouth, could you delineate some of those ways?
Yeah, I think they're both guys that throw the ball well. They're both similar size guys. They're both athletic abilities very similar. So in terms of there's not going to be this there'll be some nuances in the game plan depending on which guy starts. Naturally, there's going to be things that some guys do better than others. That's always going to be the case, no matter who the player is. But there's not going to be these wholesale deal. And so when I say they're similar, I think they're similar style quarterbacks. We're not dealing with, Michael Vick and Jim Everett, if you will. Horrible example. But those are the slowest guy I thought of and the most athletic guy I thought of. But we're not dealing with opposite ends of the spectrum. So. Anyhow, you could tell I was a Rams fan when I was really little before I became a Giants fan.
Hopefully they want to fight you for saying that.
Riz, when you said Derek could go the week without working and still play, is there going to be a line where you'll draw it at some point during the week and say, okay, we got to go with this guy?
Yeah, they'll be at that point. He's going to have to, obviously, if Derek were to even have a chance, he'd obviously have to get into some walkthroughs and things like that. I think. I don't know if he'd take there's going to be a situation where he would take a whole lot of full speed reps. I don't see that the way that the concussion protocol works out and the way we practice. That wouldn't happen. So he'd have to get in there and get some walkthrough stuff. He wouldn't just show up on Sunday, cold, and he would have to go through some stuff. So again, we'll see where he's at tomorrow, and then Friday and Saturday, and by end of the week, if he's not able to get any reps in any form or fashion, then obviously we'll go with one of the other guys.
How has he progressed in concussion protocol, Derek?
He's so far no setbacks, so that part's been a positive. He's obviously had to complete the first step Tuesday, second step today, and so hopefully there's a whole progression there. But so far so good. He hasn't had any setbacks or hasn't leveled off at all.
And it's been definitely decided he won't have surgery. You said he was maybe going to get a second opinion the other day.
Yeah, as of the moment, it's going to be non-surgical situation. It's that doesn't require, injured reserve, so.
Are there any potential plans to open up Chris Olave's practice window? Like, is that even a possibility in the next few weeks, or are y'all still going to?
That all options are on the table there as well. I wouldn't close the door on that. I think Chris is in a much better place than he's been. As I mentioned, he's having some further meetings, but I don't want to close the door on that either. I wouldn't say that his season is completely done. I would say that let's see what the specialists and the doctors say, and let's make sure that all is good there, and then we'll discuss that. But he's starting to get some rehab stuff and things like that. He's starting to move around, so we'll see.
Does that include this week that he could return? Like, would you guys?
No, I don't think we'll see him this week.
Has he traveled with the team to New York?
He did. He was on the trip. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He was on the trip with us this past week. Yep.
And I mean, was that something he wanted to do? Like, what kind of prompted that?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get back in the swing of things. So he's in meetings now. He's back. He's able to sit back in the meetings, and he's able to do some of those things that the IR guys are allowed to do. So, in whatever meetings he's allowed to go to, all the weight room stuff that he's allowed to do, the rehab stuff, kind of following that protocol, the reserve injured protocol. And he did go on the trip with us to New York.
How challenging is this process of having three quarterbacks and not knowing kind of who's going to be able to be available on Sunday and who, from a health perspective, from a competition perspective and all of that, when you combine it all, how frustrating has that been?
I don't think it's frustrating because I think Jake and Spencer, in their own right, have prepared for this moment, and no different than the last go-around when Derek missed some time with an injury. Those guys stay ultimately prepared. I don't know if there's two guys, I know I joked around a couple weeks ago about Tano always being around during his rehab process. During the game weeks, every day, Spencer, Jake, those guys are here preparing all the time. They do everything. They go out and do the virtual stuff. They're always watching film. They're locked into their playbooks. And so, they're really the ultimate professionals. And so, because of their preparation, I'm very confident that, whoever ends up being under center on Sunday will be prepared and ready to go. Both those guys have been great. So I wouldn't say it's frustrating. I'm frustrated for Derek that he's got to deal with these injuries. That's the frustrating part. But as far as the other two guys, I know that they're professionals and they're well prepared.
Is Chris still in concussion protocol? Like, is he technically in the steps?
The steps of the protocol, yeah, I really don't. Like I said, he's really got some meetings lined up. As far as the exact protocol, I think he's past that part, but don't put words in my mouth.
When you said,
Yeah.
I think last week that he had rescheduled something this week.
Yeah,
Is that
he's got a
taking
meeting
place?
coming up. I don't know the exact day. I don't know the exact day of the week it's coming up, but he's got a deal. But
And to rephrase or clarify on the quarterback, is part of it you're not wanting to tell us or the Commanders yet who's starting the quarterback, or the team has genuinely not decided yet who would start at quarterback?
yes,
The first time or both?
yes, and yes.
With Chris, like,
That was the shortest answer I ever gave.
in general terms, like, not to delve into, what's going on with him, but what are they looking for when he's meeting with concussion specialists? Like, is there a way to maybe see if, like, a reoccurrence will happen? Is that what they're trying to figure
Yeah,
out?
I'd love to sit here and tell you that. I'd love to sit here and tell you all the answers. I'm not backing out of the question. I really
I
not.
realized I didn't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the best example I can give you is probably what Tua went through with the Dolphins. I think he's following a similar path to make sure, as I mentioned, I think way back in the beginning, that, when he does come back, there aren't going to be any potential setbacks. And so I think that's the same, kind of following that guideline. I think our medical people have also communicated with those same people. So I'd love to tell you all the details about that. That's kind of out of my league, over my head. I'm not that medical person.
Staying on the quarterback theme, what have you seen from Jayden Daniels and just his rookie season of how he's been able to handle everything running that offense with the Commanders?
Extremely impressive. I mean, the most impressive thing about Jayden Daniels right now is the fact that for a rookie, he's got a 70% completion percentage, and a guy that's I think he's the third in the league in least amount of turnovers for a quarterback. And those are usually the things that when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback, that you don't see. You don't see the high completion percentage. You see a lot of turnovers. Guy doesn't take care of the ball. So I think that's a credit to his college training. I think it's a credit to his pro training. I think it's a credit to what they're doing offensively. They've really done a nice job. Cliff has done a phenomenal job with him, putting him in good situations. But with all that being said, he's still a playmaker. So it's not like they got him out there just managing the game. They got him out there and with quarterback runs, the scrambles, the big plays, the Hail Marys. I mean, all the plays he's made this year, he's got some highlight film plays too. So, but to sit here and say that he's only whatever it is, 13 games into his professional career, gosh, his body of work's been really impressive.
I was going to say, it's a good management of letting him do his work, but also at the same time that the play calling and everything else is making sure that he's able to manage the game and not make those critical mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. I think they've really done a great job with him. You put the film on, you're looking for these negative plays and these opportunities for your defense, and they're hard to find. And so that's a credit to both the play calling, the position they're putting him in, and his playing ability. So I think it's been a great combination so far. So, we're going to be up for a huge challenge. So no doubt.
You brought up the quarterback run stuff after you all played the Giants last week. How big a part of that is Jayden's game, and how much challenge does it present for you?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think some of those plays last week, or if you look at any point of our season where the quarterback's gotten out in the open field, he's going to be more dangerous than maybe if every quarterback we've played. When he gets out in the open field, he's a guy that's not really looking to go down. He's looking or go to the sideline. He's looking to make a big play, looking to score. And so, he's like having another running back out there. And so, we've got to do a phenomenal job of containing him, keeping him in the pocket. When he does escape, we're going to have to gang tackle, and that's going to be really important because, gosh, you look at some of those plays he makes. He's a creator. He's like a point guard in basketball. When something's not there, he'll make something out of it. And so when you shut down maybe if you shut down the route or you kind of start collapsing in on him, he's got a great escapability. And not only that, can he get out of there? He's going to make a play down the field, just like we watched him do at LSU all those years. So yeah, it's a big challenge, a big deal. That's a big part of what we have to do well, and it's going to be a big factor in the game.
What do you mean of the way Washington has improved just so much in 1 year from where they at? Is it just the quarterback? Are they doing other things? Like, what do you kind of think of?
I think it's a credit to Dan. I mean, Dan's a phenomenal coach. You look at his body of work. I've known another guy that I've known for a long, long time, another Jersey guy. And so, you look at what Dan's done there right from the beginning, kind of changed the culture. They're playing at some point they've played well in all three phases. One of the things that probably flies under the radar is their special teams group has been outstanding. They've been really good with field position in both, really across the board. They have probably the best core special teams group that we've played. Their pass defense, no surprise, under Dan has been really, really good. And then you look what they've done with the rookie quarterback. So really, all the way through, they don't have a ton of weaknesses, and I think that's why their record is what it is right now. They hit a little bit of a bump in the road, like every team does at some point in the season, but they responded obviously really well against Tennessee, and then they got a chance to kind of reset on the bye week. So,
It was like before them. The example was Houston, their turnaround. You've been in the league a long time. Like, what do you think goes into like such a drastic turnaround from 1 year to the next?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think, number one, you obviously infuse a whole new coaching staff in. You have new systems, right? And then you decide which players are going to be, you have the roster changes. And I think the biggest thing, like I said before, is he changed the culture. He's changed the culture there. And Dan's a really energetic, positive guy. He's a passionate guy. And you can kind of see that in the way they're playing. And really across the board, all their coordinators, between Cliff, Joe, and Larry, they've all done a really, really nice job with all three phases. And Dan's doing a great job of managing the team. And so it's not a surprise that they've had some blowout wins. They've had some close, they've won in all forms and fashions. And then they've had contributions from all three phases in all those wins. They had a game where they kicked 7 field goals. They had a game where they scored a Hail Mary in the last play of the game. They've had games where they've held teams to low scoring. So they just haven't been a one-dimensional deal. And there's been some times where the offense hasn't played great, but the defense stepped up and vice versa. So that's to me, that's a sign of a really good coaching staff. And so that's what I think they've done.
And now you got a chance to be around Marshon Lattimore. What does this sort of bring? What will he bring to the team?
Yeah, listen, Marshon brings just a competitive nature to him. He's when the light's on. Marshon's as good as a corner I've seen. When the light, like I said, in big moments, there's really not a guy in the league that he can't cover. He's an outstanding man-to-man defender. And so he just brings another piece to the puzzle for them. So I obviously got a lot of respect for Marshon as a player. We'll see where he's at, but he's just another piece that they add to their defense.
Going back to the culture, like, I feel like the culture either needs to change here or needed to change when you took over. How would you kind of?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Matt.
Going into, like, I guess, did you feel like any part of when you took over for Dennis, did like the culture needed to change here?
Yeah, I think we've hit on a lot of this stuff. I definitely felt like we need to change, which is why we changed a lot of things. I thought we hit a little bit of a lull there. We were in a 7-game losing streak. I thought that the sideline at our last home game, I don't know if that was Tampa, was probably, flatter than I had seen in a while. So I just felt like we needed an infusion of energy, if you will, and just all the changes that we've made. And so we've kind of, we've kind of went through all that. But yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. I think there's something to be said for a new voice, and I think there's something to be said for a change and change of scenery sometimes brings a different way of thinking, different approach. And so, you mentioned Houston, you mentioned Washington, 2 great examples. Try to do some of those things here the last month. So
A lot of guys, obviously, back to Marshon, were teammates with him for, a long time. Do you think it'll kind of be somewhat of a, emotional return for those guys and him, or have you had any conversations with your teams kind of about being reunited with him?
yeah, listen, he's friends with a number of guys in our locker room, and so he developed a lot of relationships around here, and so anytime you have one of those homecoming games, if you will, there's always that little extra added juice to it, if you will. I know that when the 3+ hours of that game, Marshon's going to be as competitive as anybody, but at the same time, like I said, he's friends with a lot of those guys in the locker room. They hang out, in the off season, and so there'll be that little bit of ribbing going on and that little bit of, talk, if you will. But at the end of the day, it's all about execution and going out. But yeah, there'll certainly be some of that. I know there'll be a lot of pregame hype and all that. So if he plays, I'm sure there'll be some yapping going on for sure.
What do you make of
All good nature. No, you're good.
What do you make of the season Chase Young's having?
Listen, I particularly think that Chase played his best football game as a Saint last week. He got a game ball from us. I thought he was doing a great job. I thought he was living in their backfield last week. He had a number of hits on the quarterback. I really feel like every week, particularly this last month, he's played a little bit better every week, and a little bit better every week, and a little bit better every week. And we really saw, and you guys that were in training camp with us, I really felt that way in training camp. I felt he had like a phenomenal training camp, and that's the guy we've really seen these last 3 or 4 weeks, and we're going to need him to do that again. When he's making plays, our defense is better. And so credit to Chase, because he hasn't just kind of, showed up every week, and it's not a status quo with him. He's a guy that works at it. He studies his opponent. And so, yeah, like I said, I made that announcement the other day when we handed out his game ball. I felt like he played his best game for us this year, last week.
Can you see why Alvin isn't practicing?
I'm sorry?
Why Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, Alvin's just dealing with an illness. Yeah, he's going to be fine. We just really precautionary there. We just wanted to, just in case he was contagious or anything, keep him out of the building. He'll be fine. I think Alvin will hopefully be back tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
You and Dan were coming up from Jersey about the same time. Did you guys ever show up?
Yeah, we have a lot of mutual friends. Dan was a coach at Hofstra with a lot of guys. That Hofstra staff, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Woods was on that staff. Raheem Morris was on that staff. Kyle Flood, the offense coordinator at Texas, was on that staff. Another guy I worked with. And so Dan Quinn and I had a lot of mutual coaches that we knew, a lot of mutual friends, ironically, that we knew. And so we just always kind of, we never worked together, but always kind of went against each other. We both kind of came up through the lower levels of the Northeast college football, so we always kind of knew each other. And so.
Morristown and Bergen never played each other.
No, we never. Did he go to Morristown? I thought he went to Balliol or whatever. Wherever he's from, we never did battle, because he would have lost to Burton Catholic if he did. But that's all right.
Does it seem like pure coincidence that Marshon's going to make his debut for the Redskins against?
Listen, there's certainly some irony to it. I'd stand here and lie to you if I said there's definitely not some irony, because we traded him, it seems like a long time ago, and then all of a sudden, it seems like he might have been back last week if they didn't have a bye, but it just so happens, right, happenstance that it's against us. So all good. It's all part of the game.
But you haven't actually seen how he plays in their defense. Is that less than ideal, or does it not really? Do you know him so well?
Well, the style of player we certainly know. We got a really good idea of the style of player he is, how he actually fits in. I don't think they're going to make any wholesale changes to their defense, but how he fits in, whether and where he plays, what side, travel, all that stuff. We'll kind of see how they play it out. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
It'll be colder in here tomorrow.